incredibly honored to be able to share my heart this morning with regards to my journey and also what I know about a little bit about music education and also genetics as well. But allow me to share screen first, and let me know if you can see this screen. If everybody is able to see this, okay. So right, if everybody's fine, then I will just get on to this. Yeah. So well, it didn't start off really smoothly in the at the onset, because my parents, when they presented me three options, they say, oh, okay, well, I was 5 years old back then, and my parents actually said, well, we have a little bit of money. You have a choice of going to Tokyo Disneyland, or you have a choice of learning the piano, or you have a choice of learning the electronic organ. And I was just thinking, well, if I make a trip to Tokyo Disneyland, it's just one trip and that's it. I won't get to have any after effects of enjoyment anymore. So I actually picked the electronic organ over the piano because I didn't quite understand the piano then. So the electronic organ was really interesting because it got multitudes of sounds and stuff like that. And so that actually got me started. But I was really an average student. I was learning under Yamaha, and I wasn't really one of the fastest learner as well. So, but I realized that I didn't really want to disappoint my parents because they actually put in a lot of money. And coming from a middle income family in Singapore, money is not really easy to come by. So I made sure that I gave my best for music. And there was a lot of struggles, I would say, because I am certainly not the most talented. But I would say, because like today's topic is about nurture versus nature, you see. I know that I'm not innately talented. I can't really compose very, very well, like like even Chi saying. So, but the thing is, over the years, my parents exposed me to a couple of very interesting events, like competition events, concerts, and stuff like that. I think that inspired me to really want to reach for the skies. And so even though my lack of talent, thankfully, was overwritten by my desire for a lot more in life. And I'm really, really privileged that after my national service in Singapore, I actually took the route of competition. So instead of going to the Yong Siew Toh Music Conservatory, for a music degree, I actually chose a different route. I chose to compete in Singapore first, and thankfully I got the first prize in Singapore, and that allowed me to compete in Asia. So that was in Taipei, and after getting the first prize in Asia, it allowed me the opportunity to represent Asia internationally in Tokyo. And so I was really privileged to be the first Singaporean to be awarded a Grand Prix award at the International Electrical Concours. So that was quite a number of years back already. And over the years, I have been able to be in piano and electron music education space. And I have also been a regional performer over the last 15 years. And I'm also a big advocate of technology. And I also love food as well. And that also brings me to the topic that we are discussing today. It's really about technology. But when we think about technology, we think of like maybe handphones, we think about mobile phones or even iPads and stuff like that. But I think technology is more than just that. I think there is another facet of technology that a lot of us are not really aware of until recently. And so that's why, as one of the co-founders of Connecting DNA, I have a huge passion about helping people understand their genetics, and how it correlates to one's health and also correlates to one's, I would say, their talent as well. So that brings me to the next point of DNA. Why is DNA interesting? We all understand that we have DNA and we have a brief outlook of DNA, but we don't really know this topic really well. Well, DNA is interesting simply because of the fact that it is in every living thing. It is in plants, in animals, in humans as well, you see. So I think this is something that we cannot deny. Now, so I just a raise of hands. How many of you really know in depth about DNA? Just a raise of hands. If you do, just show me your hands by the emoticon. But if you don't, it's okay, because I'm here to actually share a lot more. So DNA is actually found in a chromosome, And the chromosome is actually found in a nucleus. And the nucleus is actually found in our body cells. And we have billions of cells already. And so this is how intricately and wonderfully made we are. And so DNA actually stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. And DNA is first discovered by a Swiss biologist, Friedrich Miescher, in 1986. And do you know that DNA is the building blocks of all life, including this really fat cat, right? So do you know also we have over 6 billion DNA in our body? That's a lot of DNA. And do you also know that DNA could stretch, our DNA, one person's DNA could stretch from the earth to the sun and back. But can anybody guess how many times from the sun and back to the earth one person's DNA can stretch? Anybody have an inkling of an idea here? No? Well, okay, let me give you the answer. 600 times. One person's DNA, if we lay out the DNA from end to end, it can actually stretch from the earth to the sun 600 times. That's one person. It's amazing, right? Yes. And I also like to share that not all DNA are genes, because genes are only just about 1 to 3% of our DNA. The rest of our DNA controls the activity of genes. And so that's about 97% of our DNA. Okay, and so I also would like to emphasize that we are all 99.9% genetically alike and only just 0.1% unique. But this 0.1% differences is enough to create a lot of like different races, different background, different culture, different health properties and stuff like that. So we can also say that genetically, a human and chimpanzee is 96% alike. So we do share a lot of DNA. And do you also know that a human and the banana is 60% similar? So it is not far-fetched when we say we are going bananas. All right, so I hope you have found this fun and useful information. And that brings me to the next point. The power of DNA. Now, as I would say human beings, we all have one thing in common. We want to live healthy lives. We want to live productive life as well. But how then can we use the power of DNA by understanding our own genes to really take our health and maybe our lifestyle to the next level? Allow me to share a different screen right now. If you have found this interesting so far, please give me a thumbs up, or if you have any questions, feel free to leave it in the chat. Okay, so I'm actually going to share this really quickly. So Connecting DNA has actually partnered with one Korean DNA test brand. So I hope you can actually see this screen here. So this Korean DNA test brand is called GenoPlan. So GenoPlan has got more than 100,000 users worldwide. And so from this DNA test, I found out a lot of my own genetic predispositions as well. And so from here, we are able to find out genetic predispositions from our health and wellness to our personal traits and also our lifestyle as well. And there are 500 unique genetic traits reports that we will have access to via this particular genetic analysis. So, really quickly, I just want to share really very quickly how this impacts my health. Because for many years, I have been suffering from headaches, as a music educator, I get headaches really frequently in the past. And I always attributed it to like maybe Singapore's weather. It's too hot and humid. Maybe that's why it's getting me headache and stuff like that. But when I got access to my DNA report a couple of months back, I realized it was actually my sensitivity to gluten that is actually causing the headache. So I previously had no inkling of idea what gluten sensitivity was, because I wasn't really educated in that sense. But I actually took steps to avoid gluten in my diet. And lo and behold, within a span of a couple of weeks, my mind cleared, my mind fog cleared, and I have not had headaches since clearing gluten off my diet. But of course, there's a lot more of such information which I'm going to share. So basically, my friends and even many people in the community who have gotten access to this report, they will be able to have access to understanding their genetic trait in these areas. So there's like a cancer markers, there's general diseases, and also traits as well. But let me start off with traits. We are able to understand information from our weight management. Okay, so I hope you can actually see these various traits that we are able to understand of our own body. So like a calorie restriction diet. So based on my genes, I'm likely predisposed to have a good response to calorie restriction. So combining diet with exercise will give me effective weight loss. So I know that, for me, this is my DNA report, by the way. I can have effective weight loss if I, actually take steps to exercise and have calorie restriction. But not everybody is the same. So we need to know our DNA. So I also want to share something that is very, very close to our heart. Very interestingly, because of the pandemic that we are in, we even have the ability to understand how our body responds to certain infection. Like for example, coronavirus. So based on my genes, my predisposition and susceptibility to coronavirus infection is actually low. So I'm very thankful for that, because recently I was found to be in close proximity with a COVID positive individual, in a public transport system in Singapore. And so I was within 2 meters proximity with this person for 25 minutes. So I was actually sent to a quarantine facility in a really, really nice hotel in Singapore. But thankfully, my result came back negative. So I think it helps someone to really understand their rate of infection. But contrarily, if I were to get COVID, so it will take a high viral load. And so my likelihood of symptoms will be quite severe. So that means I will really show the symptoms quite to a high degree. So this is actually quite interesting information even for me as well. And of course, we are also able to find things like, I think a lot of us are music educators here. So I wanted to allude to one particular trait that I found really interesting: absolute pitch. So like I mentioned, I'm not the most talented in my class back then, and this actually proves, that because my ability of having absolute pitch needs effort. So I don't have a naturally occurring ability to be able to have absolute pitch, but I was able to train myself over the years. So it needs training. So therefore, it really shows nature versus nurture in this area. So I can't say that, if you have no absolute pitch, you can't be trained. You can be trained. It just takes effort. So I think these are just a really interesting traits that we are able to have access to via this kind of DNA reports. But of course, I don't really want to go into cancer, but perhaps it's also nice to see, what kind of predispositions that one might have as well. So this allows me to have ability to take greater stock take of my health and to maybe take steps, to prevent certain areas of inflammation in my life in future. Because by just looking into this information, I'm able to also understand what is this particular cancer, what are the diagnostic methods, what are the risk factors as well. See, it's because a lot of people these days, they want to lead quality life, but then when cancer hits, it's always too sudden, but I feel that this kind of information should be made out there for everybody, so that everyone will be able to understand their genetic predisposition and take preventive methods to avoid having such inflammation in their bodies as well. And so, from this DNA test, we are also able to understand the genetic information. We can even see what are the genes that are related to this particular cancer. There are even medical references also. Yeah, so this is just one of the health aspect of a DNA report. But truly, my friends, there is just too much information to show. There are 500 types of genetic traits. I can't show everything for sure, but I think I hope you have found this useful with regards to the health portion, and I would like to also now move on to a more educational approach on how understanding genetics can help us to identify our students and also our child's innate ability to certain, I would say, education space. So I hope you have found this information useful so far. Let me know if you would like more information, okay? Now I'm going to do another screen sharing.
Sure. Feel free to ask questions in the chat group,
Yes.
yeah? Because we will
Yes.
address questions and answer later on. Thank you.
Yes, right. I hope I'm still keeping to the time. Okay, I'll just try to speed it up.
No worries.
All right, so yes. So I hope it's been helpful so far, the information. Okay, yes. So I think we are no stranger to Mozart. We know that Mozart is extremely talented and he has absolute perfect pitch, by the way. He's widely recognized as one of the greatest composers. And so we can say he's genetically definitely very musical. But can you imagine if Mozart wasn't a musician and he was placed in an environment where he is supposed to be a hunter? So I'm not sure how well he will fare. Or what do you think if, let's say, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart is a dancer? I'm not sure how he will fare as well. Or what if he's a farmer? If he's placed in an environment of being a farmer, I'm not sure if he will fare that well as well. So I totally believe that all of us have our own calling, right? So, and it's not wrong to follow our calling. So what do you wish for yourself, or even for your child, or even for your student? Can your student really do well in this particular music, or do you feel that your student needs more help in a particular section, like a facet of education? So I think there is difference between moving in the realm of talent and hard work. I believe in moving in both, because I think hard work is definitely necessary. So it's like our DNA will determine our life choices, and through our life choices, it will determine our future, our wealth, and also our future as well. So because all of us is like this tree, so we can choose to understand our genetic predisposition and give ourselves the best environment to thrive in, or even the best help possible as well. You see, so I think a success is possible, especially with the day and age that we are in. We have access to such information that was probably not available to the masses in the past. So success is definitely talent with hard work. But of course, there are many, many doors to success. I'm not saying that success is only just by one route, but I think it really helps to know, what our child or what our student can actually take, based on their genetic predisposition. That brings me to actually the next section, very, very quick one. So if we know our genetic trait, it is definitely possible to plan for our own future, and even for our students or even for our child's future as well. And so that brings us to DNA and education, which is also the heart of the matter today. So there is definitely a shortcut, to success. If we use our talent well, if we know our genetic predisposition, and we allocate enough resources for a particular strength of a student or a child, it will definitely be able to bear very, very good fruit in the future as well. So in the past, there's always the generic education where everybody just sits together in a class, and then they have access to the same information. But of course, in recent decades, like private tuition has become the norm already, because the parents are beginning to realize that their child is different. They need a different type of help. So that comes our personalized approach. But how personalized can personalization be? I think it's important to be able to have access to a child's genetic predisposition, and be able to allocate resources based on their strengths or even weaknesses as well. So connecting our DNA to personalized services. DNA isn't hard to understand, but it is really hard to act upon. You see, so after having information like that, what can we do, on a day-to-day basis to allow us to have a greater chance of success? Yeah, so which is why we believe that it is important to have DNA empowered services also, which is what Music Matters is very passionate about as well. And that's why Music Matters really wanted to bring this information to the masses, to help people to achieve more, better, safer, and faster. Right. So how about connecting you and your child to a better tomorrow via your DNA? And so connecting DNA also has another solution available for children. So this services is available in the region, not just in Singapore, but also for Australia, for Malaysia, Indonesia, Hong Kong, and also Taiwan. Right. So this children's DNA test is available for ages 5 and above. For a child or even a parent is able to understand a child's existing personality, their empathy, learning difficulty, their exploratory behavior, impulsivity, memory performance, or inattentive symptoms. So these are really genetic, So it's not like, we don't just hunker down on a kid and say, why you're not paying attention? It could really be genetic. I'm not trying to find excuse for your child though, Yeah, so we can even find out if they have a warrior personality or worrier personality. We can also find out some basic health and diet, whether they have bitter taste perception, whether they are good in Chinese character reading, sports endurance, creativity, general intelligence. So I actually did a DNA test, I think 2 years ago. It shows that my creativity was just normal. It's not really, really, really high. So I didn't feel so bad that I'm not as great a composer like Chi Seng will be speaking later. I feel like, okay, I have my own space. So I kind of have accepted who I am. But I just did my best. I just continue to do my best in whatever I'm doing right now, which is actually education, right? Or we can even find out a child's musical performance capability via their genes. How interesting is that? One might wonder, well, how is this information going to help me and my child or me and my students? So for example, it doesn't mean that a child with a poor musical performance capability cannot learn music. No, it's not that. So it also doesn't mean that a child with a bad math gene cannot learn math. They still have to learn how to calculate, right, in their life. But what I'm saying is that it will encourage an educator, it will encourage a parent to allocate perhaps more resources to give assistance, to this particular child, instead of just judging this child and saying, oh no, why are you so slow in this? But we don't do this anymore. But we understand that we are all born different because we are all made unique, right? So in this report, a child and a parent also will be able to have even more understanding on what various genetic traits are like, the genes that are being tested, and the recommendations for parents, to be able to help their child to be able to overcome certain genetic predispositions. I think this is really, really important. And so Ori is now retailing at $405, but via Music Matters, you will actually receive a promo code for a 10% discount, including Geno Plan earlier. So Geno Plan is retailing at $389 Singapore dollars. Yeah, so I believe that for a technology of this price, I think it's super affordable and very worthwhile to have access. It's akin to having access to your entire being user manual. It's like a user manual from God. It's like for us to really understand who we are and to be able to take corrective action. Yeah. Okay. So yes, and so you can also join. Yeah. So you can also join the Connecting DNA community. You can ask questions, and there will be a nutritionist, and there will be also experts there to actually answer your questions with regards to genetics as well. So feel free to scan this QR code right now to join the community. I just leave this screen here for a while, and yes. So I hope you have found the really short session intriguing enough and useful, and I truly want to thank you all for your time today in listening to my heart.
Yes, thank you so much, George.